field. He'll be talking about the new generation of innovators, which we as global energy community are trying our best to be in it as well. So personally, I'm really looking forward to hear about his expertise, about his point of view on the topic. Um, and I just want to tell everyone that we will, if you have questions, just note them down, write them in the chat maybe, and we have time for them at the end of the session. So there'll be a specific time for questions later. And that is it for me. I just want to say thanks again, everyone, for coming. Without further ado, the floor is yours, Madalitso, and we're ready.
Um, Apologies, everyone. If you're going to hear some noise in the background, somewhere where noise cannot be avoided. I'm at a trading center, so there's a lot of noise going on around here. But thank you very much, Global Energy Community, for organizing this webinar and inviting me to speak on behalf of the African youth that are in the clean energy sector. I remember meeting Dia. Is it Dia or Dia? I don't know how to pronounce the name. It's what?
Dia.
It's Dia. It's Dia. Yeah, I remember meeting him in Russia at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, and he invited me to speak on this webinar. So I'm glad to be speaking today. So just a brief introduction. So can somebody, oh, I can share screen, right? I'm from Malawi, like Dia mentioned. I'm an energy professional. I've been working in the energy sector for about 5 years now. Uh, I started off in clean cooking, working with biogas, briquettes, and bioethanol. And then in recent years, I shifted to the energy to electricity, more especially in the wind energy sector. But I have a Bachelor of Science in biotechnology. I know it's it's kind of confusing saying that I have a Bachelor of Science in biotechnology, but I'm into the wind energy. I'm now in the wind energy sector, but that's just how things worked. I moved from biotechnology to bioenergy because they were related, and from bioenergy, I just started drifting into the energy sector until I explored the wind energy industry, and this is where I'm actually trying to build an enterprise in. So the next slide, please. Yeah, so just to give a brief information on Africa's energy landscape. So Africa is actually one of the most affected regions by energy poverty. There's about 600 million people that don't have access to electricity, and that accounts for about 60% of the population that's from energy poverty. And as a result, about 90% of the population relies on traditional biomass fuels for cooking. So the picture that you can see is actually a very common narrative in Africa. Um, Almost every rural community, even urban households, they will have freestone fires, or they'll have a cook stove for charcoal, where they use for cooking. This is we call it maize meal. It's made with maize flour, so we usually use firewood or charcoal for cooking, and all this charcoal and firewood is harvested from our natural vegetative resource, which is actually depleting at the moment. So there's been a lot of efforts, especially in my country, uh, for people or households to transition from the conventional or the traditional fuels for cooking to cleaner fuels like biogas and biocats, briquettes, as well as LPG. LPG has been there for a really long time, but it's actually being adopted at the moment because there are a lot of misconceptions about the costs as well as the safety measures of using the gas. So it's uh it's a work in progress. The clean energy sector is very young in Africa, but it's actually growing at a faster rate of the um, because of the because of the impact of young people, of a youth like me, the effort of young people like me that are putting into the sector to introduce new technologies, to provide advocacy so that people transition from the basic fuels, basic biomass fuels that they use in their households to cleaner and more affordable fuels. Next slide, please. Yeah, so in Africa, less than 25% of electricity is generated from renewables. Um, Less than 25%. I think it's something between 21 to 22% of the electricity that's generated from wind, solar, and bioenergy, as well as hydropower. I think hydropower covers the most of the renewables, of the electricity that's generated from renewables. Um, but on solar, I tend to I tend to differ on that because in a lot of rural communities, you have these things that we call solar home systems. I don't know if you've heard of them. Solar home systems are basically these modular solar systems that are installed in households to provide electricity and for lighting and just charging basic electronic devices. And this is literally in every rural household that you can find. So I am pretty sure the percentage would go up from maybe 1.5 to maybe 15%, just by my own estimation. But IRENA estimates that solar energy alone has the technical potential of about 7,900 gigawatts of electricity, which just haven't explored that yet. At the moment, only 3% of the investment that's going into renewables. Uh, I mean, at the moment, only 3% of the investment in renewables is across the world is going into Africa. So, meaning that the rest of the 97% is going to European countries and other countries. But Africa is actually the most affected area on the continent. Uh, it's actually it's a carbon basin for a lot of carbon that's being emitted by industries in Europe and other developed countries. But we're depleting these carbon basins because of energy poverty that we're experiencing in our countries. So we keep chopping down forest to provide more energy for cooking and heating as well. So I feel like the youth are here to play a vital role in this new age of energy transition. Can you please move to the next slide? Because Africa is literally the youngest population, with about 60% of all the people below 25 years of age. So you can see that we have a lot of young people that are the most affected in the world, actually. So we have the youngest population that is most affected by energy poverty. We're experiencing a lot of blackouts in our countries because of old power plants that rely on coal. Uh, uh, a lot of students don't have access to electricity in in their schools because of things like energy poverty. So they cannot access digital visual aids in their schools. They cannot access the internet. So um, it's a big challenge, but we are the ones that are to solve this problem because uh, we uh, we contribute to the largest population in Africa as young people. So can you move to the next slide? So this is just a few roles that I listed that young people can play uh, as a part of accelerating the transition of clean energy in the world and the global south as well. So, oh yeah, this one is a picture of the 2023 SPIEF. It was a really awesome experience. I'm pretty sure Dai is there. Are you there?
Not in this picture, I think.
You're not in the picture. All right. Um, so can you move to the next slide? Yeah, so advocacy is a big tool that young people can use in the acceleration of energy transition in the world as well as the global south. I've just listed one major organization that a lot of young people that I know are in the clean energy sector are part of the Youth SDG constituency. I think I'm putting on a shirt as well that says, yeah, SDG 7 Youth constituency. I think, can you see it? Could be inverted. Yeah, but I think it's a UN organization that mobilizes young people and gives voices to young people um, to advocate for better policies in energy transition, financing, as well as capacity building uh, and technology transfer um, for the African continent, as well as anywhere where clean technologies are needed for young people. Another one that I just listed is local youth organizations. Local youth organizations in different countries, especially in Malawi, we have a lot of local youth organizations that are um, advocating for clean energy transition. We have an organization that's called Green Girls Platform, where they support girls that are in the energy sector, girls that have mm, technologies or initiatives that are promoting energy transition in our country. So cumulatively, all these efforts come together and make uh, one big push towards the transition from the traditional biomass as well as the carbon emitting fuels to the new age energy technologies that are cleaner and more affordable and healthier to the environment. Another one that I listed is the coalition of parties. There's one that's happening at the it's I think it's from November to December. So I know a couple of young people that go there and are given a platform to talk about to talk about climate change issues uh, that are affecting their countries and to demand for uh, financing to mitigate as well as to adapt to changes in the climate. Can you move forward, please? Yeah, so another role that youth are playing that African youth are playing in energy transition is entrepreneurship. And this is really huge because in Malawi, um, about 90% of of the clean energy companies that are being established or that are running at the moment uh, are founded by young people. So on the left side, that's a company called EcoGen. It's a biogas company that installs biogas digesters in households as well as institutions. They've installed over 60 households 60 biogas systems in households all across Malawi. They're making really huge strides in the adoption of clean energy for cooking in Malawi. On the right is a company that's called Infinity Energy Solutions. They make charcoal briquettes from waste, from waste like wood shavings, um, sawdust. So this is their this is where they produce their briquettes and they sell to households as well as factories that were previously relying on firewood as well as charcoal to do their thermal processing. So it's an actual thing. There's a lot of companies in Malawi that are using firewood and charcoal for thermal processing, but now we have young people that are providing cleaner and more affordable alternatives that will protect the environment and actually provide solutions to mitigating climate change. Can we move to the next slide? So this is also another organization. It's called Community Energy Malawi. So this is a colleague of mine. He's into microgrids. What it basically does is install microgrids in rural communities to provide solutions for clean cooking and lighting. So there's a huge demand for electricity in rural communities, but there is little effort that's going into meeting this demand. So he's one of the young people that are in this sector that are trying to close the energy gap and provide a cleaner alternative for people in rural communities, a cleaner energy alternative for people in rural communities, for cooking, for lighting, for heating, as well as any sort of industrial activity that they could embark on. Let's move to the next slide. Yeah, so another role that young people, that African youth are playing in energy transition is innovation. So I'm very big on innovation because innovation sort of encourages the development of technologies that are tailor-made to your area, where you're from, your region. You see a lot of technologies that are flooding into clean energy technologies that are flooding into Africa are actually developed in Europe or China or other countries, and they're developed with the mindset that we're making this for the African continent, but they don't understand what the African continent needs. They do not understand the context. They might develop it from a theoretical point of view, but they don't know what it is to be an African and what it is to be impoverished by energy poverty. So innovation is very big in accelerating the transition of clean energy in Africa. So just the picture on the left is it's a motorbike company. I think that customizes motorbikes to electric batteries and electric motors, electric mobility. Let me just say electric mobility. So this is just one issue that solves I mean, it's an innovation that solves a critical issue in African countries, which is transport. You see, there's a lot of roads that are badly designed or roads that are not sanctioned by the government. So you see these bikes that go around in areas like that to take people to different places in the city. So with the rising cost of fuel, as well as the inflation of things, it's really expensive to run businesses like this. But if you introduce electric mobility, it makes everything cheaper by 10%. So innovation really is one of the most critical factors that are contributing largely to the transition to cleaner energy technologies in Africa. So this is also just another example of electric mobility. I think this is a company in Uganda. So they convert tuk-tuks from the conventional diesel engine to the motor, to the electric motor, so that you can just charge your tuk-tuk without having to go to a filling station and use it the whole day for moving commodities, people, as well as other things that require transportation. Let's move to the next slide. Another role that I included in this presentation is technology transfer. And I set myself as an example. Mm, on the left side is a turbine that was developed by Eduardo Garcia from Argentina. It's been patented there, and on the picture is where they were testing it in the Parana River in Argentina as well. So I met Eduardo sometime in 2021. He talked to me about the technology that he had developed, and he was looking for African youth that were interested to adopt the technology and maybe transfer it to the African continent to solve the energy crisis that we're experiencing. So I agreed, and we started working together, and he showed me how to make this thing, and I built it. And at the moment, I'm actually using it for wind electricity, contrary to what Eduardo is using it for. But eventually, we're going to diversify from wind to hydroelectricity as well. So we're also in talks with the Ghana electricity company, and they're also interested to pilot the technology of hydroelectricity. We're just having a conversation with them yesterday, and they have all the interest to adopt the technology, but they're looking to pilot it first in their country, and then we can move forward with the agreements. Natasha, do you have access to the link that I sent you?
Yes, I can share them shortly.
Okay, I'll move forward. Yeah, so this is the first one that we built with help from Eduardo Garcia, Eduardo Garcia, developed this technology. It's about 3 meters long and 2 meters wide in diameter. So it has the capability to generate electricity from 1 meters per second. So as you can see, it's on the ground. We didn't have to put it somewhere, maybe 20 meters above the ground to generate rotational movement. It's actually rotating at less than. So that is the advantage of this technology. It can work for both wind and electricity as well. Let's move to the second one. Oh, you know what? Let's move with the presentation. I'll show you the second one when I'm. Can we move to the next slide? Yeah, so now I'd like to talk about Bibu Energy, the enterprise that we incorporated in Malawi by the help of Eduardo and his company MGW in Argentina. So we're a Malawi-based startup that is pioneering wind energy. Wind energy is unexplored in Malawi. It remains unexplored. So if we set up a microgrid somewhere, we're going to be the first enterprise, the first company to do that. So we envision to become a leading wind energy technology provider in Southern Africa with the mission to close the energy gap and reach optimum connectivity through microgrids in Malawi and the rest of Southern Africa. So that's just a picture of me with the second prototype that I built. As you can see, I built that in a rural community where I used to work. I built that with available materials from waste metal and fiberglass. So it's a very easy technology to build. With accessible materials, you can set up your own. We can set up our systems and generate electricity with ease. Let's move to the next slide. Yeah, so I just want to show you the Malawi's energy landscape and how much energy poverty affects Malawi. So Malawi has about 15% of the population that has access to reliable grid electricity, and that leaves about 85% of the population living without reliable grid electricity. So, like I mentioned, we have a lot of rural households that are using solar home systems that are very unreliable, and most of the time they only provide electricity for lighting during maybe 6 hours of the night, and then they go dim. So poor energy access is one of the leading causes of poverty in Malawi. Uh, because we don't have access to electricity, our economy is still struggling. Even in our cities, we have regular cutouts, we have regular blackouts, and a lot of industries are failing um, to manufacture the products to how they need to manufacture them. So it's a major issue, and one of the major causes is poor investment in energy generation and distribution infrastructure. So there's a little investment that's going into the power plants as well as distribution infrastructure. Actually, our distribution infrastructure can has 170 more capacity than our energy power plants. So it means we can transmit more electricity than we produce at the moment. So at the moment, there is need for investment into energy generation. Can we move to the next slide? Yeah. So now back to the helix wind turbine. This is it's a novel technology with a single spiral blade on the horizontal axis. It's made of fiberglass, composite, and steel, and it's capable of generating electricity at low altitudes and low wind speeds. Can we go back to the video so I can show you the second prototype?
Yes, just a minute, please.
All right. Yeah, so this is a second prototype that I developed. It has, unlike that one, it has another axis it has another pivot at the base, so that it moves to the wind direction. So from my projection, it could generate about 2 kilowatts of electricity. So like the first one, this can actually generate electricity at low heights. So that's a height just below 1 meter from the ground. Can we go to the other video? There's another video where I connected it to a generator. So this is when I connected it to a generator. So the generator is something I fashioned from a motorbike stator. It's something on a motorbike that generates electricity for lighting and other electronics on the motorbike. So I just custom built it to fix it to my turbine. But at the moment, I am in talks with an organization called IEEE, ISV Africa Working Group. They provide grants for young people to do piloting. They provide seed grants for young people in the piloting phase or in the beginner phase of their prototypes. So they're interested to fund the project, and they're willing to up to $25,000 in grants. So that's something I'm really looking forward to. I hope by the end of the year I can acquire that. By the end of the year I can acquire that. I can acquire that grant, so I can set up my own pilot and do before I roll this thing into the market. So can we go back to the presentation? So our innovative approach is basically to install microgrids in rural communities. So these microgrids are going to be between 5 to 20 kilowatts of capacity. We chose 5 to 20 kilowatts of capacity because rural communities are arranged in clusters of households. So you won't have households that are closely distributed like how it is in urban settings. So you have a cluster of households in an area, and then you go 10 kilometers or 20 kilometers and you find another cluster of households there. So it's really expensive to install a microgrid and then transmit electricity to those clusters. So what we're looking to do is to target individual clusters of households and provide the electricity that those rural households can use per day, instead of installing huge installing huge power plants and then and then having huge infrastructure to distribute electricity to each cluster of rural households. So this is a cheaper way of doing it because it's going to eliminate the cost of infrastructure installation of distribution infrastructure installation, as well as the cost of installing large power plants to supply electricity to rural communities. So to ensure that we maximize that rural households maximize the amount of electricity that we're providing to them, we're going to introduce incentives for productive use of electricity. And so things like TV showrooms, as well as barbershops, and other programs that are going to encourage young people to set up businesses that need electricity. So let's say milling or any sort of small-scale industrial processing that needs electricity. Yeah. So at the end of it all, we're willing to sell the electricity at as low as 11 cents per kilowatt hour through a prepaid billing system. So this is literally one of the lowest pricing for electricity in Africa. But we're very assured of the approach that we're using. We're going to maximize rural communities are going to maximize the consumption of the electricity that we're going to provide them with, and we're also going to generate profits in the same way by providing things like hot plates, kettles, as well as rice cookers, pressure cookers, and other electrical appliances that rural households might need as we introduce electricity to the households. Can we move to the next slide? So our action plan is basically to pilot the 2 kilowatt prototype, which we're doing now, which we're doing now in my community, and then raise funding to install about a 20 kilowatt microgrid in GEC district. So like I said, I'm in talks with IEEE, ISV, and they're interested to provide funding for this 20 kilowatt microgrid in GEC district. That is where I live. So that's in the first 6 months, and in 6 months to the first year, we're going to install the 20 kilowatt microgrid in the district, and also build a workshop where we're going to build and assemble the turbine. And in the coming 1 to 5 years, we want to fundraise about $500,000 through grants to install 1 megawatt of electricity across Malawi in partnership with Community Energy Malawi. So this 1 megawatt is not going to be one power plant, but it's going to be microgrids that will accumulate to this 1 megawatt of capacity. Let's move to the next slide. So the major challenge that young people are now facing as they put in efforts in energy transition The first one is financing, and it's really hard to get financing for a young African to from pre-seed, then seed, and then I think there's pre-seed, there's post-seed, and then there's a space where you're running the company, but you're not generating profits. You still get a grant to pay for your employees and everything. But this is something that is mainstream in developed countries. I was watching this documentary about a company, is it in Sweden? They manufacture solar cars. So they were prototyping a solar car, but they had access to the funding to do the prototyping, to do the manufacturing, then to get all these employees, electrical engineers, designers, to build this thing, into a finalized product and then launch it. These people had not made sales yet, but they had all the financing to do all that. So it's a major challenge for African entrepreneurs to get access to such kind of financial support. So this is a big challenge. Another problem is poor capacity building programs. So we don't have access to programs that will provide the capacity for young. We don't have access to many good quality programs that will provide young people with the capacity to have the impact in energy transition. So for instance, in Malawi, there isn't a specific program or a course or a specific university that is providing a course in wind energy. I cannot go to a university and learn and get a bachelor's degree or master's degree in wind energy. Maybe I might study renewable energy and there will be a part of wind energy that I'm going to study there. So it's a big problem because I'm looking to get into the wind energy sector, but there's no one in this sector that can help me go through with prototyping and do other tests. I am literally building from a blank page. I have to ask from people that people outside the country, people that have experience in the sector that can provide the help that I need. So capacity building is a pretty huge problem in Africa. I was going to say that policies are another problem, but policies really aren't a problem because the policies are there for inclusion of young people in energy transition. But the problem is people that are implementing these policies tend to exclude young people from participating. So there's an opportunity for a young person to get funding to do something in the energy sector. Somebody who's at that position would take up that opportunity for themselves. A young person wants to go outside the country to study, they'll redirect that opportunity to somebody else that they know that is not even interested in the sector. So there's a lot of politics that goes into policy implementation in my country, and that is a major challenge. But where the challenges, we have opportunities. So maybe please go to the opportunities and see what young people in Africa, the opportunities that we have in Africa. So they're finding opportunities. The funding opportunities are there. In Malawi, we have the Growth Accelerator Program. They provide about $40,000 in grants, but this is specific for established entrepreneurs. Like I said, there's IEEE Africa Working Group. They provide funding from pre-seed to post-seed. So they provide about $25,000 in grants. And then when you're done with pre-seed, they can give you from $50,000 to $200,000, or you can for you to develop your enterprise, your technology, or whatever initiative that you're doing in clean energy transition. There is also the Global Innovation Fund. I think that's something that was initiated by USA. I remember working on this funding program with a few experts from the University of Surrey and Conventional Connections UK, and also the University of Portsmouth. We were working on biogas project, a bio-CNG project. We were looking to mass produce biogas, purify it, and then channel it into a pipe grid, like how they do with water or natural gas. So the pipe grid is going to go all around the city to provide electricity to urban households. But we had the concept written down and everything. We just never went ahead with bidding for funding. But that's that is unavailable. That is one opportunity that's available for African youth to explore. There is also job opportunities for African youth. IRENA provides a lot of job opportunities for African youth, as well as the Clean Cooking Alliance. This is just two organizations that I've listed down, but there are many international organizations that are actually hiring young Africans working in the clean energy sector. There's opportunities for policy advocacy, opportunities for policy advocacies, and this is especially youth conferences, things like the coalition of parties. I think I recently attended the Youth Energy Summit, and there we had the chance to interact with politicians and decision makers, policy makers would sit down and have panel discussions with them and question them on the opportunities that young people have in influencing decision making and policy advocacy in the energy sector. So these are opportunities that young people have in advocacy. There's also partnerships. Young people can partner with companies or innovators in outside of the continent. I'm an example. I've partnered with Eduardo Garcia. He's right here in the meeting, and we're trying to deploy this technology in Africa. And like I said, we're in talks with a company in Ghana that's interested to pilot the technology as well. So I think this is the end of my presentation. Thank you so much. Can we move to the next slide? Yeah, thank you very much. So this is just a picture of the BRICS Youth Innovation Summit that I attended in Pretoria in February. So it was also another eye-opening summit where I had to meet a lot of young people working in different fields. So there's a lot of effort that young people are putting into energy transition. It's all up to the decision makers and the policy makers to include young people, provide them with the support that they need so that we can move forward as a global community to make sure there's energy access and also that we have access to clean and affordable energy all across the world. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Madalitso. That was really insightful. Thank you so much. I see others are applauding. Just feel the virtual applause from us. I'm just wondering. Okay, I mean, I can get into a couple of questions that I came up with, but unless any other one has them, how do you say? Unless any other one has them, otherwise I will go. I was wondering, so you mentioned right at the end, difficulties between financing and just joining up with external organizations. But do universities, I know you discussed this, but I'm not clear enough. But do universities help you? Do they have interest in startup and in innovation on this level? Or does it not match?
Universities help to an extent. I remember I've won a couple of awards that were organized by universities. I won the Malawi Innovators Design Competition that was organized by the Malawi Polytechnic University. I also won the SIMPAD USA Youth Entrepreneurship and Innovation Award, but this was organized by another university in Malawi in partnership with an NGO from USA called CIMPAD. The support is there, but like I said, there's a lot of politics that goes into decision making. So I'll give you a very good instance. I won a grant of about $1,000. That was last year in July. And the organizations that provide the grant, Simpan, did provide the $1,000, but it took about a year to get access to that money. And I never actually got access to all the money. And there were there was a properly planned program for mentorship and support, technical support and everything else that never actually came through. So there are people that are willing to help young people young people that are enterprising in the energy sector, but then there are also some people that just don't care about what we're doing in the energy sector. So that is a really huge challenge. But universities are helping young people. There are some universities that are actually, especially students that are learning there, have access to digital labs, have access to all the equipment, 3D printers and everything else. They can help them in prototyping as well as developing technologies. So I would not say universities are not helping. They are helping, but then there are just some things that are hindering them to function to their full potential.
I see. Okay. Now, yeah, I get it. Yeah,
Right.
not an easy picture, but I
Yeah.
get it. Okay. If I may, like, what are you the most excited for in the coming 5 years? What do you think might develop in your field, in the wind field, maybe?
Well, I'm the most exciting thing at the moment in the wind energy sector in my country, I should say. I'm just kidding. Well, a lot of people are getting interested in exploring other avenues in the energy sector. So there was a lot of efforts in clean cooking, everybody doing clean cooking, everybody doing clean cook stalls, everybody doing biogas, everybody's doing briquettes and other clean fuels for cooking. But now we're diversifying into other fields like wind energy. So mm, I don't know what's coming in the next years, but there's a lot of financing and a lot of support that's coming from uh, non-governmental organizations, especially in microgrid development. There's a mini grid program that's going on in Malawi, so I aim to capitalize on that and maybe access some support from it to build my enterprise. So the clean energy sector is diversifying at the moment. We're moving from clean cooking and we're actually moving to electrification and everything else that covers energy access.
I see. I mean, it sounds exciting, definitely. So we do wish you the best of luck, and we'll keep
Thank
in
you so
touch.
much.
It's not about that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I see Vivian. You have your hand raised.
Yes, and I have also a question. So yeah, first of all, I want to say thank you very much for this insightful presentation. I was looking for your innovations and they were crazy. So I also have questions about them and especially in the wind field. I mean, the whole world is using right now like huge wind power, like miles, and offshore and onshore, and it works efficiently. But maybe you can just explain what makes you think that your innovation is newly from that, and is it more efficient in your eyes?
Well, I'm not going to claim that my innovation is more efficient because DIA has worked on something that's similar to this, and they might have a different opinion on that. I haven't really done more tests on efficiency. That's what I'm going to say, but I understand the technical advantage of my innovation, of me and Eduardo's innovation, in that it can generate electricity at lower wind speeds and also it does not require huge support infrastructure for insulation. So this is a very cheap technology that can be installed in rural communities to generate electricity without having to spend a lot of money in infrastructure to install and then supply electricity to rural households. So you can pretty much set it anywhere where there is a lot of wind, anywhere above a meter or 2 meters, and you're still going to get some amount of electricity that you can use to power households. So rural households don't really need a lot of electricity. So this technology works in that context.
So it's more like a solution for everyone, even for people who don't have much money, and not instead like this huge windmills for the big industry and for generating a lot of electricity for a whole country. So it's just for private persons to install their own wind turbines to.
Well, not individual, not a private thing. I'm looking to incorporate it into microgrids. So microgrids, it's like small power plants where I can generate just little electricity and then transmit it to households. So I don't need to set up huge wind turbines like how they do it in Europe or China to power rural households. I just need a very small setup that can generate something between 5 to 20 kilowatts, and that's enough to power a cluster of households. So this technology is tailor-made to that context.
Okay, it's amazing actually, but your goal is not to have a wind turbine next to each household in your area.
No,
so it's more like to install them in a field with microgrids together.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I wish you so much luck with this innovation, and I hope I will hear a lot of news from your side if in the press or whatever, if this works very well, you know.
I'll keep you updated.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, hello.
Oh, hi. Yes.
Thank you for this presentation. I just want to ask at 11 cents per kilowatt hour, do you think it is profitable? How can you scale this, at that rate as well?
Well, 11 cents per kilowatt hour is not the most profitable approach to sell electricity. But if you can introduce incentives where people are going to maximize the electricity that you're providing to them, 11 cents per kilowatt hour can generate substantial profits that you can use to upscale. So it's all a matter of ensuring that the electricity, you're selling all the electricity that you can produce at that particular time.
Okay, I get it now. Sorry. Which means you still have to incentivize the users to at least maximize what you produce.
Yes. So if you have putting that in a financial projection, you're looking at maybe 5 to 6 years for this thing to break even. But we have to do anything to ensure that rural communities also have access to electricity. We have to sacrifice the time and not just focus on the profits, but also looking at the service that you're providing to people.
Okay, I get it now. Thank you, Madalitso. Good work you're doing there.
Thank you.
Thanks for your questions. Oh, Natasha, yes.
Yes, I just have a quick question for Madalitso. What do you think could be done, to enhance the speediness of policymakers into jumping aboard the energy transition? Because you mentioned that that's where the most resistance comes from. So what do you think can be done to enhance the speediness?
To enhance the policymakers.
Yes.
I think the best thing that they can do is involve young people like us that have had experience in energy sector and that have struggled to get financing that have struggled to get financing in the sector. So before they make policies, they invite young people and they sit down with us and they ask us how they can provide access to opportunities so that we can spearhead the transition. Because it's in my country, it's really hard to get funding from organizations. Most of the funding comes from international organizations. So it goes down to the people that are making the policies. They have to understand the situation on the ground, how young people are struggling and what they actually need. So all that we need to do is have a conversation with these people, and that is all. And maybe fire some people who are incompetent, something like that.
Understood. Thank you for your answer.
Perfect. Then I am cleared out of questions and curiosities, and unless our audience has any other doubts to ask, I don't want to hang up the day for all of us, especially Madalitso. You said you're in a training field? Yeah?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm at a no. I'm at a training center, so there's a
Center,
lot of
right.
yeah, a lot of noise going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we could make this the closing. Once again, thanks everyone for joining. Thank you, Madalitso, for sharing.
Before you close,
Yes.
so if there are no further questions, I'd just like to say that me and Eduardo are open to partnering with anyone that's interested in adopting the technology that he developed. It's a patented technology. It's been tested. It's actually very efficient for hydroelectricity generation. So if anybody that's interested, or any company that's interested to take up newer technologies, we are open to collaborating.
Interesting. Do you have maybe some links that you could share with us so that when we publish this recording, we could leave it as well if you want? You can let us know.
I need to compile that so that I can send it to anyone that's available to receive the links.
Oh yeah, okay, no problem. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, of course, this is the right moment, I guess. It makes sense. Yeah. Then yes, I will. Thanks again, obviously, to Madalitso as well as Eduardo's support and your partnership. We will be sharing the link to this recording on YouTube so that you can also go back. And hopefully there should be subtitles. I know that in the background we looked into that. And that is it from us. Thanks for joining this webinar from GEC, Global Energy Community. We'll be doing more in the future, so keep updated. And have a good day.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Have a good day as well.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.